Bending the knee to females is a path to the dark side, but to be free of female dependency, that is a path to everlasting life. And welcome to another Semen Retention Sunday episode here on the Regal Change account. I am Thaddeus, and I've got my all-natural wizard staff here for the topic of this video, because after 30 days of semen retention, you're basically going to be a wizard. Now, what I mean by this, because there's multiple layers to this topic, and I don't mean wizard in the sense of, or a warlock in the sense of you're doing evil deeds or you're committing ways of being toward other where you want to curse them. To be a wizard, you're basically just really good at your craft, and you actually have a sense of sophistication. Now, what exactly does semen retention have to play as a part in this? Well, like I said at the very beginning, if you're not dependent on women or female validation, then the likelihood of you being trapped or being cucked or being a trick, because that's something I've been researching a little bit into pimpology, and I've been researching why exactly is the psychological foundation of our society encouraging either cuckoldry or pimphood, because I'm not really about either. However, if I had to choose only between being a cuck and being a pimp, you best believe I'm going to be a pimp wizard, that's for sure. But I'm not going to be a pimp because I don't roll like that, I'm not really I'm not about that. I don't see women as property necessarily, but I don't really see women as beings who are entirely capable of leading themselves. Now, the reason why is because it's not to say that there are women that, can't lead themselves, because there are some women that might be able to lead themselves. But guess what? Almost every single time you see this happen, it's been a woman who has actually been able to see what a reasonable man is capable of. So that's just it. Again, she's learning from a reasonable man. Now, it doesn't mean that women don't have logic. It doesn't mean that women can't be intuitive, because women are very intuitive. Sometimes they just don't know how to channel that appropriately. And so sometimes when a woman is super hyper intuitive, when she's around a regal wizard with a full sack, that's going to be everything that she needs to really be grounded and feel safe, but also feel like she can be reasonable again. Because in alchemy, there are, of course, there's 4 elements, technically 5 if you want to count certain things, but let's just take the 4 elements, right? And the 4 elements, you have the earth, fire, air, and water. If you have earth and fire, you're basically going to be in super dryness. But if you have air and water, you're going to be in super moist, wet type of environment, right? It's the same type of thing with the spirit of the time. And what semen retention allows you to do is not necessarily balance, but become more centered. So if you are more of that fire and earthly element, semen retention allows you to see yourself from a more a more air and watery element. So in the Regal timeline theory, for those of you that are familiar with my work and you're Regal Change old timers, you're aware of the Regal timeline theory. In the Regal timeline theory, I discuss, elemental timelines. And I actually do have a video on this in the Regal Academy, as well as information about it in the Regal Academy and in the YouTube members channel. Well, if you're a member of the channel, you'll have a video access available. But what I will say here is that the elemental timelines are essentially where you see what kind of timeline you're in regard to what element. So are you on a high value, high cost timeline? Are you on a low cost, low value timeline? And in regard to what element corresponding with what type of high value, high cost, low value, high cost timeline, etc. Because there's really 4 types of timelines you can be on. There's high value, high cost, low cost, high value, low value, low cost, and high cost, low value. So those are the types of timelines that you can be on. And so if you're on a high cost, low value timeline and you get on semen retention, it just so happens that you have the power of a wizard and you can point your staff wherever you want to go. And it's like your will, so to speak. Right? Because the staff is basically just a channel of energy. If you've ever LARPed before, you'd know this. LARPing is actually a powerful ally to those who want to assume the outcome. If you want to assume the outcome, LARPing is the way to go. Now, in the Bible it says to walk by faith and not by sight. Now, before all of the Christians just start nodding their head in dogmatic agreeance, listen to what I'm actually saying here. Walk by faith, not by sight. It's the same type of thing with LARPing. It really is. It's the same type of thing with alchemy. It's the same type of thing with being a wizard. You got to act by faith and walk by faith and not by sight. So let's say, for example, you want to, you want to make some money, I guess. Everybody wants to make money, because these are natural things for being in the matrix, being in the simulation. It's natural. We kind of have to make money in some ways. Not because we have to, but because, I guess here's the thing though. Like, while we exist in the 3-dimensional world, and we're interdimensional beings, Maharaji, who is Ram Dass's guru, he says that if you have enough faith, you can give up money and possessions. Now, for the people that are familiar with my work as well, we talk a lot about being a full Sakian man. A full Sakian man is not just about semen retention, but it's also about being an overflowing abundance, to command abundance, not just to be invisible to scarcity and have scarcity be invisible to them, but to command abundance. This is what it means to be a full Sakian. And so why does after 30 days play a factor into this? Because this is all setting up for the creme de la creme of this message. So 30 days, if you're familiar with my work, you'll see that we did a Regal retention case study a couple months ago. And we found that it seems to be the case that after about 30 days, there seems to be this, across multiple participants and data analysis, we can see that many people, it's not correspondence and correlation does not always equal causation in scientific inquiry, but we can see clearly that about the 30-day mark, that's where you start to stabilize your nervous system, or what I call the solar timeline interface. And the reason why I call it the solar timeline interface is because light is awareness and awareness is light. Okay, I'm aware that sometimes people who are not familiar with my work, it's going to sound kind of strange, like solar timeline interface, what the what is this dude talking about? Well, I'm talking about the nervous system. And the reason why I've switched up these terms a little bit is because for me, it helps me, and it helps me see the truth behind a lot of what's actually going on, because words are very powerful. Okay, spells. Every single narrative structure is a spell. And I talk a lot about narrative structures on my channel. as well. Narrative structures are all spells, but truth is not a spell. So when you are, after about 30 days, if you're able to break out of these old narrative structures and recreate narrative structures to project into the symbolic narrative field, which is a neutral field in the simulation, because it's basically just the void. You know, you can think about it as the void. And if you can point your staff, you can point your staff where you want to go, and you can command abundance. Use the staff as a channel, so to speak, speaking metaphorically as well. But maybe just actually, use your staff. 30 days seems to be where every single man starts to have this stabilization factor. And then after about 90 days, that's where people go godlike mode. Now, this is where my godlike mastery offer comes into play, because my godlike mastery offer is not for novice people. It's not for amateurs. This is for people that are initiated or that are wanting to be more initiated into the depths of spiritual happenings, I guess you could say, rather than just dogma. Because I'm at war with the religionists, I'm at war with the educationists, I'm at war with all of these governments and politicians, and I'm not necessarily, wanting to fight these people physically. I'm fighting spiritually, okay? Because physically, yeah, on paper, we're gonna lose no matter what. Like there's no way we're gonna win on paper. But let's see what happens in the spiritual realm. Let's see what happens for those who are not attuned. Like, we have the high ground. We're freaking Obi-Wan Kenobi. Okay, we're Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're basically Obi-Wan Kenobi with a full sack. You're Obi-Wan. I was gonna say you're Obi-Wan Sakobi. Oh man, that's funny, bro. You're Obi-Wan Sakobi. Man, I make myself laugh at some of these things, but you know what? So many people have so many good ones. Like I saw somebody mentioned on a video earlier this last week. They said, "Oh look, as soon as we talk about Obi-Wan Sakobi, sun comes out." Somebody said Captain Sack Sparrow. Oh man! And then we've got Captain Amerisac, full Sachiavelli. All of these creative, highly creative ways of incorporating the power of the full sack. It's a beautiful thing to see. I enjoy it. I really enjoy it. I like that we are to a point in just our community and just our being in general, where we can see so much truth behind the cosmic joke that is life, because this is it. Life is life, and life is going to take care of itself, whether, well, if we don't trust it, it won't. Because think about this, right? Imagine in your mind, let's go deeper than that. Imagine in your spirit, there is a fuel source that you don't know about. It's like when you walk around, have you ever been on a hike and you've been like super thirsty or something, and you didn't even know that there's like a trap door at the very top of the mountain where all of this water, all of this food is, plenty of resources available. It's just there. Somehow it's just there. And it's always taken care of. You don't know how, but it just always is there. But if you don't even know that there's like a secret doorway going down into the earth where you can actually have that power and that resource, that sustenance, I mean, you don't know, right? So you don't know what you don't know. But if you know it, then there's that extra fuel source. That's what it's like to be embodied in the soul and the spirit. Because the soul of existence, what I call God, because I see everybody as one being expressing itself in different forms or different spirits, however you want to describe it. because spirits are, we are interdimensional beings. I mean that. I don't mean to say like, I don't want to sound super quantum physicsy just to sound quantum physicsy, but that's actually what we are. We are interdimensional beings. If we lived in a purely three-dimensional world, it should not be the case that I can move this stick all around. It should not be the case. Because if we lived in a three-dimensional world, we would actually not be able to see the decay of the stick, right? Because this stick is not going to last forever, just like our bodies. Our bodies are not going to last forever. Entropy is a thing. And so semen retention allows you to bypass this entropy. Have you ever noticed that a lot of semen retention practitioners, if they're actually enjoying life to some degree, because a lot of people see semen retention and celibacy as this like sacrifice. I've got to sacrifice to God. I've got to sacrifice. I'm just black-pilled now. Ugh, geeks. Ugh. I don't. This is why I don't watch a lot of content like this. I create the content that I would want to watch. Like I would want to watch stuff like this. So I make stuff like this. That's all. And this is where being the godlike mastery education is going to come into play. Like, I don't see myself as the master. I don't see myself as the educator. I see myself as the godlike mastery education, the Regal education. This is why I have Regal Academy, because every single person that is in the academy, that is committed to themselves, that is committed to doing the work, and not necessarily like doing the work because, we have to do the work, it's committing to the work because it's what it takes to evolve, spiritually speaking. And the same thing with my godlike mastery offer. Those people that have committed to themselves, that have made that financial investment and that personal investment in themselves, it's the best decision they've ever made, because no matter what happens, they learn something about themselves. That's the power of being the godlike master education, as far as I'm concerned, for myself, is because I am just being a conduit for pure spiritual education and curriculum. That's all that I am. And that's enough. I don't need to prove anything anymore. I used to, even up until about January this year, I subconsciously, I had this feeling in the back of my mind where I felt as though I had to prove something to people in order for them to see my spiritual side. I've got to be holy now because, I have to be holy. Well, now I'm a whole person. I'm not a holy person, but I'm a whole person to the best of my ability. And guess what? That's enough for me. And I can go out here, and I've been on semen retention. Some of you may not know this, but I've been on semen retention and actually practicing it, not just like here and there. I have not relapsed for over 4 years, since May of 2022. So, you can listen to these dudes who can barely go a week or two on semen retention talking about how amazing they are, and yet how depressed they are simultaneously. Or you can actually listen to somebody who's the godlike mastery education and make the best decision of your life and start to actually invest in yourself and learn from somebody who actually has done something and done nothing, because doing nothing is sometimes the hardest thing in life. Being able to just observe, because as soon as you think that you're somebody, you're in fear, actually, because your true nature is that of nobody. There's nowhere to stand. It's kind of like Ram Dass has a great metaphor. Ram Dass says spiritual awakening is like realizing you jumped out of a plane and there's no parachute, but there's no ground either. I think that's a very apt metaphor, because that's exactly what it's like. You're just, I'm always floating. That's just how it is. Pretty much. And that's what's going to make you a true wizard. It's going to make you a true wizard, man. So, I trust that this message was received by those ready to receive it. And I trust that those ready to make that decision for Godlike Mastery in the Regal Academy are going to do so, because it's going to be one of the best decisions for your spiritual life. No matter what happens, it is. So, peace be with you. Be blessed. Be free and be true. Until next time.